You're listening to Big World Network.
Just Kill Me, Season 3, Episode 8, Malfunction. Written and read by Wendy Herman. Ty was more than happy to drive fast over the graded dirt road. Even with him masterfully handling the SUV going nearly 75 miles per hour, however, we could still feel the heat from the explosion inside the car, and we had to be a mile from the house by now. I was frozen with shock. "What the hell did you do that for?" Ty screamed above the noise of the road and the fire still raging behind us. "Just drive," my father yelled. So Ty drove, minding the speed limit once we were on a proper road, just to avoid any chance of us getting pulled over. Once all evidence of the burning house had fallen below the horizon behind us, I realized I was trembling. I may be a warrior goddess and former assassin, but I didn't know how much more drama I could take. I suddenly feared for my boys. What had I dragged them into? My fear turned to anger, and I decided to direct it at my dad. I grabbed the garage door opener from the center console and turned and threw it at him in the back seat. Lame, yes, but it made me feel an infinitesimal amount better, and was therefore worth it. "Ouch, Freya!" "Why?" I unleashed on him. "Why did you blow up your house? Why did you leave us 25 years ago? Why did you hire Talia? Why did you suddenly care about me 3 years ago?" All the questions in my head were pouring out of my mouth, and I couldn't stop them. "Freya, listen, you don't understand," he stammered for a moment, but I wanted answers. "Answer me!" I was overtaken by boundless rage, and before I could control myself, I had unbuckled my seatbelt and was climbing into the back seat, hitting my dad over and over. He didn't fight back, but raised his arm to deflect my blows, which was ineffective for the most part. I couldn't even stop myself when I noticed my dad's nose was bleeding. Still, he didn't retaliate. I hadn't realized Ty had pulled over, but suddenly he was yanking me out of the vehicle through the front passenger door, which had to have been difficult since my front half was in the back seat. I knew I should stop fighting, but something in my brain had switched off, or on. I didn't know what was happening, but I could no longer control my actions. I was screaming for Ty to let go of me, resisting his grasp with all my might, although my common sense urged me to calm down. He was much stronger than me and managed to pin me against the outside of the Elantra, but still I fought, my arms and legs flailing, and my head thrashing back and forth. I could hear his voice, far away, trying to reach me, but my vision was dark. "Freya! Freya, look at me! Freya, can you hear me?" I engaged the force that had taken hold of my brain, trying to regain control. Suddenly Ty's voice became clearer, and then my vision started to return, a tunnel of light at first. Then I could see Ty's face come into focus, slowly. I realized I was still kicking and clawing at him. I also realized I was back in the driver's seat of my own mind, and I was able to stop fighting. I focused on Ty's face, and that calmed me, although his expression was anything but calm. His cheeks were flushed and his nostrils flaring. His eyes were on fire, but started to extinguish when he noticed I was coming back to him. "Freya!" He took such a deep breath I thought he might take all the air in the vicinity with him. He was breathing heavily, and he lowered his head, still holding my shoulders against the car with his hands, and I realized he was laughing. He raised his head and looked at me. That smile, that dimple, it brought me back to reality quickly. What had I just done? He saw my rising panic, and his grin disappeared. He moved in closer to me, his gray eyes penetrating and reassuring. "It's okay, Freya, it's okay." He sighed. "You're okay." He smiled again, but this time it was slightly forced, like I wasn't the only one he was trying to convince. Just then my dad came around from the other side of the car, holding a handkerchief to his face that was quickly filling with blood. He walked past us and headed toward a small gas station, about a block down the road, presumably for the restroom. I engaged Ty's eyes and gave him a quick but strong kiss. Then I went after my dad. "Dad!" He didn't turn around. "Dad, wait! Dad, I'm sorry!" He turned around at that. "It's okay, Freya," he said, his words muffled by the bloody hanky. "I'll live. I just need to get cleaned up." He turned and resumed walking in the direction of the gas station. He waved a hand in the air as if to tell me to just let him go. I figured if he collapsed to the ground, I'd help, but until then... I guess he knew what he needed to do. I would have to find a way to make it up to him later. Or did this make us even for all the deception over the past 20 years? Nah, not even close. I turned back toward Ty, and he was already in the driver's seat of his car, starting the engine back up. I hopped in the passenger side, and we drove the 20 seconds it took to get to a parking spot in front of the gas station. He shifted the vehicle into park, and I sighed. I realized my breathing was still a little heavy, and I attempted to calm myself. After 3 deep breaths, Ty glanced at me. "You okay?" I looked at him. "I'm so sorry, Ty. I don't know what happened." He had reached out and was holding the side of my face when he broke in. "It's all right. It wasn't your fault." "What do you mean it wasn't my fault?" He looked at the steering wheel for a second, letting his arm fall to his lap. "I had sort of a flash while you were kicking your dad's ass." He grinned at this, then chuckled slightly, but his expression quickly turned back to concern. I crawled out of my pity party and put my hand on his thigh. "What did you see?" I asked, just above a whisper. "It was you, and you were spazzing out, just like now, but it was much, much worse." He turned in his seat to face me completely and grasped my hand that was on his thigh. "Freya, I don't think your dad has told us everything he knows about the implants." "Yeah, I got that vibe too." The flashback was so quick, but one thing I do know is that He searched for the word. "Spaz attack?" I offered. He grinned at me. "Yes, your spaz attack. Actually, attacks. They happened 20 years ago too, and they got progressively worse. Something was wrong with your implant. It was short-circuiting your brain or something. It was scary." I was trying to hold it all together. "Well, wait a minute. How do you know I wasn't just venting built-up anger this time, and my dad was just unlucky enough to be in the right place at the wrong time? I mean, normal people lose it once in a while, right?" I looked at him hopefully, praying he would agree with me, whether he agreed with me or not. He grabbed my head with both his hands, his eyes frantically searching mine. "Because when you..." The thought occurred to me to offer spazzed out again, but I knew it wasn't the time to joke around. "Your eyes," he sighed as he gazed into my eyes. "The pupils get so large in those beautiful, intoxicating, chocolate-brown eyes. They turn black." He waited patiently for me to respond. I swallowed hard and mentally added this new bit of information to my list. "Black?" I repeated in the form of a question. He shook his head. "I don't know why, but I know it's not supposed to happen, even when we're activated. Freya, we need to get that thing out of your head." "Great idea, Ty. How do you propose we do that?" "Well, there's only one person who can do it, without killing you." "What about you? We need to get yours out, too. I wasn't going to be the only freak with a malfunctioning brain implant." "Okay, there's only one person who can remove them without killing us." I nodded, satisfied at his correction. Suddenly the back car door opened and my dad climbed in. His nose had stopped bleeding and he looked just as healthy as ever. He handed me a bag of snacks. I opened my mouth to apologize or something, but he cut me off. "I'm fine, and I probably deserved that. But if you do it again, I'll have to use the Vulcan neck pinch on you." His tone was playful, but there was an edge to it, like it was entirely possible he actually knew the Vulcan neck pinch, and he wasn't afraid to use it. "Don't worry, it won't happen again. As long as you tell us why you felt the need to incinerate your house and all your belongings," I responded, determined to get the truth out of him. My dad buckled his seatbelt and sighed. "Protection. I knew I'd stayed in Garrity too long, but you two showing up, well, it was time to play dead. Again." "Who are you hiding from, Mr. McKenna?" Ty glanced at him in the rearview mirror. "You know, you used to call me Jerry." "Who are you hiding from, Jerry?" "Let's just say the current administration would love to get their hands on what's in my brain." "What makes you think they won't look for you at your daughter's house? Especially when said daughter used to be a government-controlled assassin." I thought it was a valid question. "I'm hoping they'll think I'm dead long enough for us to figure this all out." "Dad, why did you hire Talia 3 years ago? Did something happen then that made you feel the need to have me watched?" He took a deep breath, and I knew he was going to tell me the truth this time. "Yes, I hired Talia 3 years ago, because the previous person I'd hired to protect you Well, he got a better offer. You never knew him, but my point is I've been trying to keep you safe for 20 years. And unfortunately, staying away from you myself was an integral part of that plan. But now... Now? I asked. It's time we put an end to it, and see if we can't give my grandsons a normal life. A normal life. A few months ago I thought that's what I had, but it had all been fake, orchestrated by Trevor, the puppet master of my life, of our lives. It was time to cut the strings. So are we going to your house now? My dad asked after a minute or two. Ty put the car into gear and backed out of the gas station lot. Not yet. Where to then? My dad asked, seemingly enjoying his little adventure so far. Ty and I looked at each other, sure of what we had to do, and replied in unison, Trevor.
You're listening to Big World Network.